The president pays tribute to fallen officers in Dallas. Good evening. This is CTV News. I'm Denise Douglas.
And I'm Patricia Valone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Well, the city of Dallas remembers the 5 policemen shot and killed during a July 7th protest. Hundreds gathered for an interfaith memorial service this afternoon to pay their respects to the slain officers and the others injured in last Thursday's sniper attack. Among those in attendance, the president, first lady, vice president, and Mrs. Biden. They joined mayors and law enforcement from across the country. Both President Obama and former President George W. Bush delivered remarks and spoke about the spirit of unity and perseverance in America.
Americans, I think, have a great advantage. To renew our unity, we only need to remember our values. We have never been held together by blood or background. We are bound by things of the spirit, by shared commitments to common ideals.
President Obama thanked Dallas officers for their brave actions, which he says helped save many lives. He also recognized the city's mayor and police chief for their grace, steady leadership, and powerful example in the aftermath of the tragedy. Well, County Executive Rushern Baker talks about policing on the News One Now program with Roland Martin. Baker talked about community police in Prince George's. The county executive says the key to safe neighborhoods and good relations with police involves more than just community police, but government working to assure residents that it understands their concerns. He said the recent tragedies in Baton Rouge, Minnesota, and Dallas should concern us all.
What happened not just in Dallas, but what happened in Minnesota, what happened in Louisiana, that can happen anywhere, including Prince George's County, if we're not vigilant. The things and the training we put in place, not only community policing, but also sensitivity training and diversity training, are things that we have to pay attention to every single day. With every recruit that comes in and with every officer that's out there on the street, whether they be police, firefighters, or our correction officers. I mean, it is everybody that has to make sure that we have that training, and we have to be able to talk about, and I said this morning, talk about race in a real honest way. Talk about how we feel, as the general public when we see police officers, and talk about how police officers perceive us. But that's a real honest, hard discussion about race in America.
And Baker says people riot when they don't believe the system is working for them, but they protest when they think their voices aren't being heard.
Meanwhile, Dorothy Elliott knows too well the grief of losing a child at the hands of police. Her son Archie was shot back in 1993 after a traffic stop. Several sobriety tests showed he was drunk, according to reports. When he was put into the police cruiser, the officers say that he pointed a gun at them and they opened fire, killing him. We got reaction from Dorothy about the most recent shootings of black men by police in Minnesota and Louisiana. She says she supports the protest.
And if you go back and look at all of the instances that have happened concerning black males, the outcome is always different than when police encounter white people. And it's got to stop. It has to stop. It's hard to talk about it sometimes, but it's good to know that there is some action going on, that people have decided I've been backed against the wall long enough, and it's time for us to come out fighting. Fight in the courts. Let the judge decide. Don't let the police officers decide that I'm going to kill you and be the judge and jury at the same time. Let the people live to go to jail and be punished if they committed a crime, or if they didn't commit a crime, let the sentence be whatever it should be. And it's just painful.
A county grand jury concluded that there wasn't enough evidence to indict the officers in Archie Elliott's death. Since the tragedy, Dorothy Elliott has been an advocate for victims in police brutality cases.
Well, America is shaken from a series of tragic killings that have unfolded in the past week, but how do these events impact our community? Janine Samuels is in Bowie with more.
Now, while the recent death that you just mentioned happened outside the borders of Maryland, with 2 black men being killed by police both in Louisiana and then also Minnesota, followed by subsequent sniper killings of 5 officers in Dallas, the impact of these events still hit closer to home right here in Bowie with both our police and residents.
We did have an opportunity to have a meeting on Friday with our supervisors and some of our officers, because I think it's important that we hear from them, as to what they're feeling, and they need to hear from us. Sure. And I think that we went through a range of emotions. I know I did personally. Went from being angry at the events that have occurred, but I think you have to manage your emotions with those things, and you really have to get back to, for us, is why do we take this job? We swore an oath to protect and to serve the communities that we serve. The great majority of the people in this country really respect and appreciate the service that we provide.
People need to feel like they can trust the police again. People need to feel like the police aren't against them and the police aren't racist. They should feel like what the police are supposed to be there for, to protect everyone.
We realize that the issues that are going on nationally are issues that impact the profession, and also African Americans and all people, and they're very important issues that need to be dealt with. And we're hopeful that we have the opportunity to have discussions with those in the community that want to have questions about how to interact with law enforcement, because that's what we should be doing, is to share information with our community.
One common message from both the deputy police chief and the residents that I spoke to is that a partnership between officers and the community is extremely important. But if for some reason you are pulled over, be sure to comply with whatever the officer is telling you. If you feel that you are being treated unfairly, you can resolve that issue at a later time. Whatever you do, avoid all confrontation. In Bowie, I'm Janine Samuels for CTV News.
And if you need to report an incident or have a question, you can call the Bowie Police Department at 240-544-5777.
In the courtroom, the prosecution rests its case against a Baltimore cop charged in connection with the death of Freddie Gray, and the judge dismisses assault charges. Lieutenant Brian Rice is the highest ranking of 6 officers charged in the Gray case. Judge Barry Williams said the prosecution failed to prove Rice acted in concert with others. He's the officer who made eye contact with Gray and gave chase after Gray ran off. Rice is the 4th officer to go on trial. 2 were acquitted. 1 ended with a hung jury. One of those acquitted was transport driver Caesar Goodson, who had been suspended without pay following his arrest. The city's Board of Estimates has ruled Goodson is entitled to back pay and will receive more than $87,000 in compensation. You're watching CTV News. I'm Denise Douglas.
And I'm Patricia Vallone.